Hello everybody and welcome to episode 38 of This Old Knit. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest. And you can find show notes or at least links to what I talk about in the episode thread of the This Old Knit podcast group. So this is take 2. I ran out of memory on my card because I hadn't deleted some of my previous episodes and they take up a lot of space. And by the time I realized, I was like flipping through and deleting, and I deleted what I had recorded so far. So anyway, I'm sorry that I didn't record an episode last week. I had completely lost my voice. I was sick with, it was essentially like allergies, a flare-up of allergies, and then it became kind of, not a sinus infection, but definitely like very flared up. So yeah, I couldn't talk at all, so it would have been pointless for me to podcast. And then I was actually working through that, so I set up my computer at the desk behind me and was just kind of plugging away back here because I was on a deadline at work. I've had a fairly long week this week, so this is the first chance that I've had to record. I thought about recording like Monday or Tuesday, but then I had that deadline to get to, so I feel like I'm not centered on the camera here, so I'm gonna just turn it ever so slightly. Okay, that looks better. So essentially, I finished that. I said I didn't want to work this weekend at all. I didn't want to check email. I just want to recharge. So I've been trying to take it easy. Megwin's up here watching a movie in her bedroom. So if you hear her, sorry. Excuse me. So I'm happy to be back, and I remembered to bring my Hamptons mug. Ooh, yay! Isn't that so sweet? And it's got kites, seabirds, sailboats. I just love it. Adirondack chairs, little beach houses. And I'm drinking some chai tea, which is actually quite spicy. I think I might have brewed it for a little bit too long. And I could have used a little bit of honey, which probably would help my throat. So hopefully my voice will hold out for this podcast. I am recovering, like I said, but yeah. So surprisingly though, with all of that sickness, I did not have a lot of knitting time because, as I said, I worked through my sickness. But I did finish something, and I partially finished something. So, yeah, let me show you what I got. So I finished my No Maker socks, and we still have our No Makers cowl going on for the rest of January, and then all of February. So I actually have almost all No Makers projects on the needles, with the exception of one, I think. But I love these. They're really great. So they are Gnome Acres in the Sparkle Gnome base, which is her Stellina base. And this colorway is called Under the Tree. So it is golds, like Christmas green, some kind of rusty red and white, and then gold Stellina. So I knit them in the Blueberry Waffle stitch pattern, and I've had these done for about a week, and I've wanted to wear them so bad, but I waited so that I could show them to you on the podcast. So now I'm going to be able to wear them. Oh my. I always pick the time when Joshua wants to take his nap to come and podcast, and inevitably you're going to hear some screaming as he kind of settles into that. So yeah, they turned out really well. I used 64 stitch count. They're on a size 2.5 millimeter needle.
Her name is Barbie.
Barbie, okay. I thought she had a different name in this story. Okay. Anyway, she's watching Mermaidia. Sorry about that. So, 64 stitches, 2.5 millimeter needle, and I actually knit one whole sock and part of another one on Carbons, and then I went and bought some Addi sock rockets, and I'm sorry, Addi sock rockets, I don't know why I ever stopped using you, because I love you. They're just so fast. They're so much faster than Carbons. I like how the stitches slip across the needle for me. Those are just my perfect needles. So, anyway, yeah, I really like how they turned out. I'm super happy with them, and now I can wear them. Yay! So that's my only finished object for this week. And then my half object, which I realize these do not show up on the camera at all. So I actually will try to insert a picture so that you can see the stitch detail on it. But I finished one of my husband's char gloves. So, like I said I was going to do, I just started knitting the second mitten. Once I got through this part, the cuff, which is a braided rib cuff, oh my god, braided rib is terrible to knit. It takes forever. But once I got through that part, the hand is actually really fast. So I got up through the hand and I figured out that I actually only need to add like 3 more rows to the thumb before I put it on waste yarn, and then I just zipped along and I did like 1 finger every day, and I had him try them on as I knit them, and I made notes of how many rows I did for each one so I can replicate that on the second one. And they're actually a really tight fit on him, so how much they stretch, I would never like knit a sock, for example, that was that stretched, because it makes it a little bit open. But he actually wanted them to wear almost like a liner for his leather work gloves, so they're perfect for that purpose. So you can see they actually fit my hand, kind of, with the exception of a couple of the fingers. Now they're not stretched at all to get on my hand, so they do stretch to fit his hand, and the cuff comes like right up to the bottom of his hand, and on me I've got like that much. So yeah, one is done, and I still need to work in some of the ends, but I'm actually using the ends to close up the holes between the fingers. So when you pick up the next finger to knit it, inevitably there's going to be holes between. And what I do is I just take the yarn tail, so I left a longer yarn tail, and then I duplicate stitch. So I did this one and filled it in, so it looks pretty good. And I filled that one in, so there's no hole there. So yeah, I'm really happy with them. I'm happy that I finally got them to fit his hand how he wants.
This is mixed up. This is not Mermaidia at all.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh.
It's mixed up.
Okay. Well, I'm
but
sorry.
I don't mind.
Okay. Well, you can watch a different one, I guess. So that is that glove. And then the second one, I pulled it back to the point where I figured out I needed to. So all of this yarn wrapped around the ball was all extra yarn that I had knit that I didn't need to knit. But that's fine. Now I know what I need to do. I feel a lot better now because I have an actual recipe, if you will. And I'm done up to the point where, where I need to do the stuff for putting the thumb on waste yarn. So I'm almost done with this pair of gloves. So I've got all of this done, and the fingers and this part did not take me very long. It was just like maybe 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours of total knitting time, but I just did kind of 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. So anyway, I'm gonna keep plugging away on those, and I'm happy with the fact that I've figured it out. So the yarn is Knitting Notions, and the colorway is Ironstones. It's a very, very dark charcoal gray. It's tonal. And actually, in the middle of the ball, and I posted about this on Instagram, there was a weird part that almost seemed like it was unspun. And I didn't understand why it was doing that. And then I got through almost a finger, and I was actually twisting it as I was going along. And when I was finishing up the finger, I saw there was a big knot in the middle. So it was like they joined two completely different pieces of yarn. So now I cut the rest of that off, and I started with the part that was actually plied appropriately. And now I am going to reknit with all the yarn that I unraveled, frogged. And this is cut because I had cut my yarn so I could start the second one. But that's fine. Then I'll join a new piece. And I'm hoping this will get me up to where I do a finger. And if it does, then I won't have any extra ends that I wouldn't already have had. Because you do have a lot of ends to weave in, because each finger gets done and then you cut the yarn and you join the yarn ball back again to do the next one. So there are a lot of ends, and you all know how I feel about ends, but that's fine. My husband does really love them, so he has actually been wearing the one glove by itself with ends sticking out of it, so he really does love it, and he talks about all the time that he's so happy. So there's the rest of my ends to weave in. But he's very happy with how they turned out. They're exactly what he imagined, and I'm pleased that I was finally able to get it where he wanted it to be. So that's that one. And then, because it was my birthday last week, my license actually expired. So I had to go to the DMV and renew it. And that was just delightful. That's always a wonderful birthday present for you to get from your lovely state government. Yes, happy birthday, go stand in a line. So since I was sick, I actually did not go. I just stayed home and decided, hey, I'll go renew it when I feel better. I'm not going to go stand in line when I'm really sick, potentially make other people sick, and be miserable the whole time. So I think at least where we live, you have about 2 weeks before you have to pay a penalty. So I just went the next Tuesday, because Monday was Martin Luther King Day, so all of our banks and like government institutions are closed for the national holiday. So Tuesday I took some time away from work and went and got my license. And while I was waiting in line, there was a woman and her kind of teenage daughter, so I think she was getting her license for the first time, in line in front of me, and I was knitting on my husband's gloves, knitting one of the fingers, and they were like, oh, that's brilliant, what a great idea, because you're going to be stuck in this line for all this time. So the woman that was in line in front of me was actually from California. I found that out later because we were chatting. But apparently her mother used to knit all the time, and she said that she and all of her sisters learned to knit, but their mother always fixed their mistakes, and she was a very... Okay, I'm back. Sorry. She had a disc on, and then she didn't want that because it's not really working. Our DVD player is not the best. It's kind of dying. My mom at one point bought us a Blu-ray. However, we have very old TVs, so the Blu-ray actually doesn't even work with our TVs. They can't handle a digital signal, and we have a converter box, but even that won't convert. And we just don't really watch that much TV, so it wasn't worth it to me to buy a new one just for putting movies on for Megwin sometimes. So she just has the old TV VHS combo, and we have a bunch of movies on VHS, and then we have the normal DVD player, which sometimes works if you sit books and stuff on top of it. It's very weird. But anyway, I digress. So, woman in line at the DMV. So we were just chatting, I was knitting away, I got to the top of where I thought I needed to stop for the finger, but I didn't really have any waste yarn to put it on, so I had to just put that project aside. So luckily I had Megwin's shawl with me as well, which I haven't been working on that much this month, just because she does have other things she can wear for warm things. She's been wearing her fox hood that I made for her a couple years ago. It's from, I think, a Heidi May pattern. I can link to it in the show notes, or you can look on my project page. So it's kind of a hood with a cowl built in together. Since it's been sub-zero temperatures, she's been wearing that. So anyway, I've been working on no maker stuff because of the cowl, but I happen to have this with me. I don't need a pattern for it anymore, so I just knit a couple rows on it while we were waiting in line. And then the woman who helped me check out actually was asking me what I was knitting as well, because she commented that she really loved the colors and she was curious what I was knitting. So it was all a very pleasant interaction, even though I was in line and stuff for about an hour maybe total that it took me at the BMV, but it could be much, much worse. I spent a ton more time in California waiting, and that was even with making an appointment. So this was just dropping in. So anyway, I'm trying to stall for time so that I can tell you about the shawl. Okay, so you guys have seen this one before, obviously. It's the Boneyard Shawl by Stephen West, and the yarn is Knit Picks Chroma. I think I just did that wrong because I was doing it like my other shawl I'm working on. I did do it wrong. Alright, well, I'll go back and fix that in a second. The colorway is Buttermint. Not a whole lot has happened since I showed it to you last time. I think I've just done a little bit, obviously done a little bit more of that peach color. And then it's going to shift back the other way with yellow, green, pink. So it's really pretty. I like it. I like how it's turning out. And that's pretty much it. So I was happy that I had it. It's almost like a vanilla sock pattern for shawls. And then the last thing I have in this bottomless bag, which by the way I decided on this one of the 2 bags that Coddington donated for prizes for our No Makers Cal. So this one will be the one that I will put in the prizes mix. Excuse me. Okay. And the other thing I've been working on, which is also No Makers, is my This Way, That Way socks by Mina Phillip. Again, haven't got a ton of progress done on these this week, but I did work on them last week a little bit. I was really trying to focus on getting Josh's glove done because I wanted to have them done for him. It's been so cold and he really doesn't have any good gloves right now, so he has a pair of gloves that my mom bought for him a couple Christmases ago, but they're actually kind of tight because he has kind of weirdly shaped hands, so they're hard for him to get on, and then he can't really do stuff with his fingers when he has them on. So gloves have been #1 priority. But you can see the pattern now. So you can see there's a slip stitch pattern across the front, and then it's going to zigzag back the other way. And I really like how this yarn is patterning. It's really pretty. And there's the back. So you can see the yarn even better there. So it's just plain on the back. And I'm doing those on 2.5 millimeter needle Addi Sock Rockets. So these are the ones that I went to buy. and I really, really like them. And here's the yarn. This yarn is a new base to me from Amanda's shop. It's the Bungalow Gnome, which is her BFL sock yarn base, and it's very nice. It's a little bit thicker than the House Gnome, and it has the bouncy characteristics of a BFL, which is what I really, really love about BFL sock yarns, or BFL yarn in general. But I've only ever knit with BFL sock yarn. I've spun other BFL. So there is the Peppermint Mocha. So that was the other Christmas colorway that I got of Amanda's. So she is not currently offering that one in her shop. It was a limited edition for Christmas, but I bet she'll bring it back because it was pretty popular. So that is all the stuff I was working on in that bag. And then, let me see what was in this bag. Oh, yep. The other thing I've been working on is my Lalo shawl. So that is a pattern by Shannon Cook, and it's a semicircular shawl, which I think I've shown the picture on a previous episode. But I did get a lot of progress done on this guy as well. So I've got, several repeats down. So the sides are in garter, and then the back panel is this lovely drop stitch pattern, or front panel, depending on how you wear shawls. So this one is really fun. It's an easily memorized pattern, which is great. So now I don't have to carry the pattern with me or have it out when I'm working on it, which is nice. I have a little teapot stitch marker that I got from Homespun House on there, Molly's shop. And then a couple of just normal, like, little blue bead stitch markers. So this is turning out really well. I really am liking how the yarn is patterning. I'm glad that I actually held off and kept this for me because I really like it, and I think it's going to be great with jeans and a t-shirt kind of thing. It'd be really pretty with a white one or a gray one. And this colorway is Gnome of the Lake. This is the House Gnome base of No Makers. And then it was a doppelganger, so it came with this matching semi-solid of Deep Blue Something. And this will be the bottom of my shawl, so I'm going to knit until this one's gone, and then I will use this as a strip on the bottom. I think it slightly changes in the stitch pattern for the bottom. So I haven't obviously gone through that much of the cake, but you can see a hole in the center of it. So it's hollow now. But yeah, I'm very much enjoying that knit. It's fun, and like I said, now that I've memorized the pattern, for this part at least, I just have lots and lots of repeats of it until I get to the next piece of the pattern. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I like that it's not really pooling at all. It's just variegated. Just fabulous. It's going to be so fun. And it's very soft. The House Gnome is very soft. I'm knitting it on a size 4 or 5 needle. I think it's a 4. So that I get a little bit denser of a fabric. That's the same size that I knit my Hexie Puffs on for my Beekeeper's quilt. So I knew already that it would look good at that gauge, because I have a lot of No Makers Hexie Puffs. That's that one. And then, do I have anything else? Oh, yes. I did knit on my blanket, but I forgot to bring it up here. It wasn't really that much. It was maybe like this much that I knit on it, so you're not missing anything with me not showing it to you. The other thing that I had started on last time was a pair of socks for my husband. Unfortunately, they're too small. So this is the West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply in the mallard colorway, which I really like. I like the striping a lot, but since it's a little bit of a thinner yarn, I thought I'd try to go down a needle size, and I went down 2 needle sizes, and that was probably a mistake. So these are 2.25 millimeter needles, which again, I went and bought a new pair of Addies, and I think I showed them on my last podcast.
Actually, I do want to load it back all the way.
Okay, well you can stop it and rewind it then.
What's the button for rewind?
You have to stop first, which starts with stop, and then rewind.
Oh.
It starts with an R. So it has arrows going that way.
S-T-O-P. S-T-O-P.
Yes, so you hit the stop button first, and then the button that starts with an R. Rewind.
W?
It's R-E-W, I think, is all that's on there.
R-E-W.
Yep. Okay. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to rip those out. So there's 72 stitches. I probably should have added another 4 stitches, maybe even 8 stitches, maybe an 80 stitch sock. But, you know, I knit my West Yorkshire Spinners. Yeah, R-E-W. I knit my West Yorkshire Spinners yarn on 2.5 millimeter needles, and they're fine. So, yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do, because he couldn't get these over his heel, so they're too tight. So, yeah, I will rip these out. But the striping pattern is really cool. I think they are going to be really neat socks for him whenever I get them to fit him. So that was a knitting fail. But I really got these to knit on the Fleechy yarn because it's kind of fine as well. And I would like to make a pair of Fleechy socks for me next. And I wanted to make sure they were dense enough.
It's rewinding.
Okay. And then I did knit a little bit on some Hexie Puffs. So I finished this one in the No Makers Tweed Robot Patina. Hey Megwin, don't make too much noise, please.
Okay.
There's a second one in that same colorway. Thank you. Some in the Fireflies colorway. This one is Backwoods Gnome.
I want to turn my computer back on.
Okay, then hit the stop button again and then play. So this one is actually her sock yarn that has the alpaca in it. It's
Which one is play?
quite squishy. It starts with a P.
L?
Yep, P-L-A-Y. Okay, so this is her alpaca sock yarn, and it's quite thick. It actually, I think, would make a really great shawl. So I hadn't tried this base before, but I definitely want to get a skein of it. And then the last one was this one. I got almost all the way through it. So this was a mini skein I got from Lena
I like it.
from the Wee Bit Nitty podcast, and I made 2 Hexie Puffs out of it, plus I made this one, but I couldn't quite squeeze 3 out of it, so I used a little bit of cream colored Regia that she sent me also. So this one is still all Lena puff, but just 2 colors. And right now I'm keeping them in this tin, which is one of the tins I got from the Advent Swap, because that way I can count them up for points for the winter camp, because each puff or blanket square or whatever counts for 1 point. So that'll make it easier for me to keep them separate from the ones that I've knit previously. So I know how many that I've knit, and I don't have to keep track of it on my spreadsheet yet. So that is all of the knitting. That's everything that I've knit on for the last 2 weeks. And then, let's see, let me take a sip of my tea really quick. I did a require a few things. So I ordered the pre-order for No Makers. Like I said, it is really cold up here. I'm sorry. It's been like the single digits Fahrenheit here for a couple of weeks, and then last night the big winter storm that is dumping snow on the East Coast just blew through. And Columbus is a little bit weird in that we're in a valley, so it's called the Miami Valley from the Miami River, and weather kind of goes around us. It's really funny to watch it on the radar. There's a bypass loop that goes around the city, and the weather like breaks around it. It's so funny to see. So last night when I was at work, people were going, oh, make sure you take your laptops home, and they're saying it's gonna come north, and I was like, it's not gonna hit us. It's not. It's totally not. And it didn't, because it never does. And they were not predicting on the weather that it was going to do that. They said maybe an inch of snow, which I don't even think we got an inch. We just got a dusting, and it's really, really sunny outside right now, actually. And looking out, there isn't even snow on the ground. It's all melted. But it was very windy, so it made it quite cold because we live in an old house. Our house is 116 years old. So some parts of it have been re-insulated, but some parts of it not so much. Like we have the original front door and the original back door, and the screen doors were custom made for the house. So we lose a lot of heat on the doors, and I do try to hang like wool blankets around. I put them on the doorknob, and then they just kind of hang down almost like a curtain, and that does help. But upstairs, this room does not have a direct heating vent to it. It just has the return to go to the basement, so it's inherently a little bit colder. And then if you get any kind of wind or anything like that, it's just going to be cold in here. So I have a blanket on my lap, and my toes are very cold right now. So I think I showed you last week that I had bought 2 skeins of this my first Regia, and the more I looked at it, the more I thought that would be really cool stripy socks with like a white stripe. So that is actually what I'm going to do with these. So I had got a cream colored, it's almost white, Regia to go heels and toes on my Knit Picks Felici. But I thought for me to be able to get adult size socks out of these 2 skeins, I actually needed a second one of these. So I got a second skein, which Joshua actually pulled all of these out of my bag and took the labels off, and he had some of them unraveled across the room when I got home from work one day. So that's why none of these have labels on them. And they also have some like various dust and dirt because they were on my floor. But whatever, they're fine. So each one is 115 yards. So with 4 of them, I have about 400 yards. I think I only really need about 300 yards to make a pair of socks, because Madeline Tosh sock is about 300-ish yards, and I have leftover when I make socks out of those. So this should be plenty for me to make a pair of socks for me. And yeah, I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to stripe them, but I'll probably do solid white heels, toes, and cuffs, and then I'll stripe with this peach color. So I think those are going to be really pretty. So I got those, and those are like $3 a ball, so that's a really great value for Regia. And then when I was ordering my Woolen Vine, my mom was trying to get Woolen Vine too, but she didn't jump on right away with the update. I told her like 5 or 10 minutes before, hey, Kristen's gonna put her yarn up. And Mom was like, okay, I'll check in a little bit. And I was like, there's not going to be any left, Mom. There's not going to be anything left. So she did log on and check, but as she was like trying to grab stuff, it was just dropping off. So she did not get any. She's trying to get Enjoy the Silence for an Across the Pond shawl. And so I'm going to keep my eye out for that on Kristen's probably next update. This last one I completely blitzed that she even was having one, and I forgot to check. So here's Kristen's card. And I had bought myself birthday yarn. And then my mom said, well, why don't you just have me pay for one of your skeins and you just pick out whatever you want. So I got the Moondrop and the Mystery skein. And I mentioned that last time, but I actually have the yarn now to show you. So my Mystery skein was this lovely, lovely thing. Okay, hit stop and then the rewind button. You know how to do it now. So this one she's calling Experiment in Blue number 4. It is on her Blitzed base, which is 75% superwash. Yes, it's the REW. Okay, it's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, 438 yards per 100 grams. And I actually knit a shawl in this base. Yes, Megan. So, yeah, this is a really pretty navy blue. And I'm thinking of maybe doing a striped shawl with this and either a red, or I have kind of a darker skein of Malabrigo sock yarn that I've shown before. I think that would be a little more muted and subtle, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's very pretty. And then the other one is this one. Oh, this is so beautiful. So this one is her Moondrop colorway in the Volca base. And it is pinks, purple, a little bit of almost pale blue. Very, very pretty. And that is her 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, 435 yards. Meg, with that. So, yeah, I was thinking either a shawl for this or maybe a pair of mittens. I don't know yet. But it's very pretty. Yarn face. So I'm excited about that too. I'm going to put those back in the bag so they stay safe. Let's see. And then because of the cold that I mentioned, I actually bought a hot water bottle, which I'm going to use for my feet. So I need to knit a cozy for it. So if anybody has a good pattern that you like for hot water bottle cozies, let me know, because I'm on the lookout for one now. So it is a from this company called Faschi, and it's a German company, so it's made in Germany. And it's actually like a thermo. Oh, good. It's like a thermoplastic, so it's not actually rubber, which is good because then it doesn't have a weird smell. So I need a cozy for it, but I'm excited about using that for bed because my feet get so cold, and it takes forever for them to get warmed up. Even with, I'm always wearing wool socks at home. I don't ever walk around barefoot really, but yeah, usually I go to bed first with Megwin, and my husband keeps Joshua, and then once he falls asleep, he comes to bed and moves Megwin, because Megwin lays with me and reads a story till she falls asleep. And then he'll lay down with Joshua, with me, because we co-sleep with Joshua. So that is pretty much everything that I have for this week.
Isn't it my turn now?
Yep, it's going to be Megwin's turn in just a second. I think I'm going to work on making a bag today. So I'm going to use this fabric, which I've shown before, with this for a lining. And then I have this kind of brown with green polka dots ribbon for the drawstring. So I think that'll be cute. Alright, Megs. Excuse me.
Sorry!
So like I said, don't forget about the No Makers cowl. And
Hey,
as always, feel
I
free
was gonna
to...
use this to hold some of my stuff.
It's fine, I'll move my stuff out of the way.
Like compasses.
Feel free to send me a PM on Ravelry or Instagram, because I love chatting with people, and I've really been enjoying getting to know a lot of different people on Instagram more recently. So we are almost up to 500 members. I think we're 8 away when I came up here, so who knows. People are randomly joining. I'm hoping that we'll hit 500 soon, and if we do, of course, I'll do a pattern giveaway or something like that.